give them their growing chance. We must show more love for the things we own, for their future is our concern. So let me love.
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are streaming on the World Wide Web. Pleasant good day to you. Yes, this is, of course, the corridor transformation. The days seem to be flying. The months seem to be, of course, exhausting. I have a call here, but I doubt I could get it. Let me just pause that and see whether or not I can get it. Hello? Hello? Are you hearing me? Let me see. Bam, bam, bam. All right, microphone. Are you hearing me? You hearing me? All right. Let's see. Hello? You hearing me? Yeah. I'm on air now, but just to say that I met, discussed, delivered. Right? Communication will be made. I'll talk to you tomorrow. That is critical. That is critical whether or not registration was established. There, right? Okay, good. All right, just confirm for me, please. All right. Right. At least we got a chance to test the telephone. It's working. All right, but let's go back to that piece of music. I think is one of culture, is one of unity, which of course will be essentially what the discussion will be tonight. Having of course not been on for a little while, but these are issues that must come to the front burner because they are so critical for people recognizing the opportunistic nature of course, the political opposition in Trinidad and Tobago, who, of course, are seeking to gain office unmeritoriously, of course, as we saw where they were disastrously, should I say, ineffective and were mal in their administration, but suddenly they find themselves, of course, in a situation where they are claiming for themselves. Not people are claiming for them because the experience is different, but they are claiming a different experience verbally, when in fact we had an opportunity for 10 years to see, of course, the disaster that was the PNM in its various incarnations as far as prime ministers are concerned. But let's go ahead. Yes, indeed, of course, you will. You'll forgive me, of course, if I was singing as though we had a mute. No, I cut the mic in order to give instructions in studio for the monitoring team that we have put together for the new dispensation of the corridor transformation. But tonight I want to do some reading, essentially, but also, of course, to lay the foundation as to why am I engaged in this way tonight. Well, you see, the former Minister of Education, Gatsby Dolly, moved a private motion in the Parliament recently, of course, criticizing or maybe asking questions as to the efficaciousness or the effectiveness of the police intervention or the police initiative in schools. And of course, that brought to the fore a number of other, should I say, issues that she was critical of, and that being, of course, the basis for the opportunity to castigate and to criticize the present administration across the board. But of course, what was absent in all of that is the fact that we have not been able to test in real terms the outcome of the present government's initiative or changes that they would, or tweaking that they would have had in the system. Yes, the police presence was to and is to address the question of delinquency, violence in and on the compound and off the compound of the schools. That rearing its ugly head, not just when this government came into office. Let's make it clear. The thing about it is that when it was proliferating, when it was, of course, widespread and almost ubiquitous, they gave up, threw their hands in the air. Suddenly, of course, they are the prescriptive guru. Yes, the prescriptive guru in Trinidad and Tobago for education, delinquency, etc. They also, of course, have the audacity and the temerity and the gall and the effrontery. They even convey that illusion to the question of crime and criminality because of the second, let's say, iteration or the second implementation of a state of emergency by the present government in short bursts. Not of course, or put another way, the opposition being oblivious to the fact that the Zoso bill, the Zoso bill was supposed to replace and be a formidable or an important mechanism for the continued reduction in criminal conduct. And as of course we know, as a statement of fact, 44% of the murders were reduced in quick time because of the implementation of the measures of the present administration. I understand some of the risk taken for the exacerbation or the increase in criminal behavior, and in particular the blue-collar crime elements, or should I say aspect of criminal activities in this country. Because of what? Because of the measure taken, the decision taken to do away with URP, CPEP, and of course the forestry program. Of course, we await the replacement and of course the philosophical position of the present administration, both in terms of why they discontinued those programs and given an indication as to the way forward. What is the philosophical underpinning for dismantling those programs? Well, one, criminal elements have infiltrated these programs, and that as a consequence of profligacy, waste, and corruption became the order of the day. And that is understandable, and that is a feasible reason why, of course, a program ought not to continue. See, it also demonstrates a level of consistency by the present leadership of the government when they were in office, let's say, between 2010 and 2015. You see, when the live sports program, you will recall, was subjected to similar scrutiny and allocation of some of the very acts for which the URP CPEP and forestry program was closed down. Yes, live sports was also accused of similar operations, and as a consequence, it was closed down then as well. Corruption, profligacy, waste, counterproductivity, and of course not delivering what the stated goals would have been. So there is consistency. But of course the opposition would like us to believe that the government is wicked. They do it for spite. They do it for pernicious and what I consider to be unwholesome. I can't see it being political expediency. No, I can't see that. Because it means that more people, as in fact is the case, would be, of course, annoyed, vexed, and feel that they, some of which feel that they would betray. But let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night to you, my friend. I hope that the line is operating. I don't have to put the phone next to the mic.
Well, I want to find out. It's operating?
Huh? You all right there?
It's operating?
Yes. Good. You hear me? Good. That's what I want to hear. Go ahead.
All right. But like how you doing, my long time I call this program long time because I was in the
Yes,
studio.
man. Yes. I took a sabbatical. I took a hiatus, so I'm back. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Working out. Yeah, Mr. Lennox, everything going good, man. Everything going good, man. I get glad to hear you back on it.
All right. Good. Great. What's your contribution tonight?
Mr. Lennox, you know, hey, who is that guy? Who is that guy giving talks? You know what's his name?
Who's that what?
Who's that guy giving talks this morning? Wait, what's his name? Director, give me talks.
I hear you.
Hey, give me talks this morning. Oh.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
I said, Director, give me talks this morning.
Okay, my friend. I hear you.
I give it to yeah, because I talk about the big words.
What part of the United States you are now located?
I'm in North Carolina.
Not like, wow, boy, you have an opportunity to really and truly explore all of the United States by the nature of the work that you're doing, and you ain't flying over. We're actually driving, and of course making a living with it. I can imagine how comfortable and wonderful that life is.
Well, yes, but sometimes you get tired because you from state to state.
Oh yeah. That driving, because you had to do it yourself. You don't have a co-pilot, so to speak. You don't have somebody.
You don't know co-pilot. I do myself.
You do it yourself. All right.
If you get used to the job, you can't
All right.
know anybody built with it for this, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, some of these trips will take days.
Yeah, days I think I've been driving on 8 and 10 and 9 hours, 11 hours.
I can well imagine. All right. Yes, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I hear the only thing about the nurses I talk about it.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what they want or when they come home, but then they realize something. government don't have any money to pay out yet. You know, they're working on that.
Mm.
You know? And to make the economy like this. But thankfully they have a job that they get a little salary. And
Yeah.
they're moving on and they get a little food to eat or something. But what about the other people don't have anything to do?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a job. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's still,
But
because
I-
when I work on, yeah, what you were saying, go ahead, Mr. Lennox. I don't want to come.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
but I noticed that Kenrick, that the government, the present government, you know, they don't talk about the fact that they don't have money, and that they met a situation that made Trinidad and Tobago cash strapped by the time the election came and so on. And I'm saying so for a reason. It appears that they are satisfied that they were elected to do a job, and therefore that to harp on those kinds of what I consider to be issues is unproductive, and really and truly people don't want to hear that, and they understand that, and therefore prefer to work assiduously to try to address the problems of them, as opposed to the PNM, who of course every day were blaming Kamala for their incompetence. You know, there's a total difference in attitude. The government is not saying that they don't have that they're not saying that they have a cash flow problem, because they believe that they were elected to address issues that requires, of course, cash, among other things. So it's a big difference. But go ahead, yes.
Mr. Lennox, but that was what I was going to ask, but you just said before.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, all right? Let me tell you something.
Oh.
I have a suggestion. They should have a person, like a briefing person, instead of coming out, anybody in senator, do it. They
All
should
right.
have a particular person that come out and brief the public what is going on. Nothing on the table, nothing to hide. This is what's going on. We don't have money to pay you right now. It's problem right now. We're trying to get some revenue any way we can
Yeah.
to fulfill that promises. But at this time, we're trying to get revenue. As soon as we get available revenue, we will act on the promise. But at the same time, that is when we meet the treasury out there, where they're thinking that they have money there. They should have a special person like here, right? Like a person that will be briefing for the president. They come out and brief the reporters out and brief them. Hey, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. And this is the question you ask. And this is what's going on. That makes sense to you?
Oh yeah, and of course it mimics or it replicates what the President of the United States has been doing. He may not be at every opportunity where the press corps, but the information about what the administration is doing is getting to the media, and therefore the population, by virtue of a press person who, of course, will address the press on a regular basis. I take that. I take that on board. Yeah, but it looks as though this government too, if you want to criticize them, they may see that as a weakness when they have to say things like money and all of that. But I think it is not a weakness. It's a reality. It's a reality. Yeah.
But Mr. Lennox, that's not a weakness. That's information. That's an information telling us this is what's going on, and this is what we need, and this is what's going on.
Yeah,
So
and you have a
we are
spokesperson
trying find out
to handle that.
what's
Yeah.
going on. But we will, but because a lot of time I hear the citizens say
Yeah.
that they're not telling them anything what they're doing.
Yeah.
Which means it's not everything you can tell them what they're doing. Like the government, like, you know.
And if you have a spokesperson, like we have seen in the United States, yeah.
Whatever you call it, whatever you
Yeah,
want to call it.
but I'm
It's the
saying,
same thing.
yeah, if you have such a person, like in the United States, for example, if it's a ticklish, sensitive issue, that person could always say, well, listen, I have not been briefed on that. I would prefer the
Exactly.
minister, you know, so that you avoid a lot of what I consider to be unpleasant situation by having such a person there who is not a cabinet member, but of course is the spokesperson only and could only talk to the extent to which they are briefed. And of course, I know that they will also be debriefed as well. But I mean, it's a good strategy for information, as a mechanism for information dissemination to the population to keep them at least abreast as to what is happening. They cannot say that certain mundane things, certain things that is common, that is not technical, that person could of course address and have the population feel more comforted. Go ahead.
But Lennox, I should make a suggestion to you.
Yes, go ahead.
You know who's the best person to put for that? I see.
Who is that?
Yes. You're the best person for that job.
You're about the fifth person who told me that. You won't believe. He's about the fifth person who told me that.
My friend telling me that you're the best person to do it. Because you're an outspoken person. You can elaborate the things. You could talk about different things.
Yes.
You could do it. That is the kind of person you put there. I see that.
Yeah.
Because you is the perfect person. I can't see anybody do that. Because I can only see you could be a spokesperson for the Prime Minister. So, do the briefing. Hey, this is what's going on. And they will trust you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was emphasized when I mastered this ceremony at the Shouter Baptist Empowerment Hall on the holiday. There were 6 ministers there, and the way how I delivered the information and how the entire thing was organized, because you know, it's one thing to have a program, is the next thing to execute the program to a point where people are totally wowed or satisfied. Well, I think that transpired among the various ministers that were there. I'm sure that they would take back that kind of experience to where it matters. So let's see how that pans out.
But I say it to Mr. Lennox. I see the potential of you. It's very clear, I can see. I know. God give me, I'll tell you again. God give me a special gift.
I hear you.
I can know things. Look, I did not, you didn't know, I could tell you that. But you have the confirmation about that. It's not me alone say that.
Yeah, no, it's not you. I'm telling you, privately they will call, after every program they will call, you know, and
yeah. You're the right person. And you could take question and you could give answer.
Yes.
They
Certainly.
to you.
Thank you for that endorsement. That
I endorse it
I am not unfamiliar with it. Yeah.
And I will let that get the camera break. Get the camera. Let you do something about it.
Yeah.
Because she cannot handle things and she don't know how to. I could tell you something, as a Prime Minister, I don't think a lot of things she could talk about or say or don't know how to say.
Yeah.
You know? But you have the answer, Mr. Lennox. You have the answer.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the answer, you can put it in a different way.
Of course, I could. It's no big thing to say that I will leave that to the substantive minister.
Exactly.
I don't
you
know that.
What you can answer, what you cannot answer.
Yeah,
Lennox,
in all
keep your
fairness
mind on that.
and in all seriousness, I agree with you. There should be such a person. Yeah.
You'll be going places. I'm telling you that. I see that already. But you have to work on it. Don't give up.
No. I'm not that type of person.
Everybody have to give, Mr. Lennox.
Yeah.
Everybody have God give everybody a gift to use it. And that's your gift.
Yes. So we'll work it out. We'll work it out eventually. I'm sure that at the end of the day, I want to share a secret with you. In 2007, when I first formed my party, Love Laventille, dedicated to only the Laventille's people, so don't vex with me. I a Laventille man.
No.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about you. I'm talking about the general viewership tonight. And I was asked to deliver a presentation at K-Pop Hotel by Mr. Pandey and Jack Warner, right? And then after which, I will meet them at a particular restaurant on the avenue afterwards. So when when I finished, did my chore, and I reached down there, if you hear both of them, boy, that man could talk, boy. That man could talk. Imagine Pandey and Jack Warner say that I could talk, and I wonder when I could talk, but them could well talk. You understand? And if the talkers say that I could talk, and then I suppose they knew what you probably have observed, and so many other people having, of course, approached me on a similar nature. Yes.
Right, Mr. Lennox.
Yes.
You get the confirmation.
Yes.
Get the confirmation.
Yeah, I got the confirmation. Yeah. After all these years, because that was back in 2007 when I first
Lennox,
contested. Yeah.
Lennox, I got to tell you the truth. I will tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I didn't have that in my mind.
Okay.
When I call your program,
Uh-huh.
I did not have that in my mind.
Wow. Look
I
at that.
never, that's what I'm talking about, the nurses and them. That's
Right.
what I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
I never have that in your mind. When I start coming to you, talking to you, this word coming to you. It's like spiritually coming to like that. I should tell them.
Yeah. All right.
I never had it in my mind.
I hear you.
And one of these days, I can't tell you over here, but I'll tell you personally what I experienced.
All right. All right. Well, thanks very much.
And you,
Yes.
when I think with that, then you would, your head could be spinning. Then you would say, wait a minute, thing exists like that. Go ahead, Mr. Man.
I hear you.
Take it.
Yeah, okay then. Thanks very much for that endorsement and intervention. Yes, indeed, people. Well, as before the call, of course, the line is open. We have another caller one time. Look as though tonight going to be busy. A pleasant good night. Welcome now that all systems are operational. Go ahead, Mr. Diego Martin.
This is Diego Martin. Good night, good night.
Good night to you.
Lennox,
Hey.
I privy to what is happening in the CRHA Monto.
Okay.
We as a country and the Nurses Association will have blood on their hands because they are neglecting patients
Yeah.
who basically on the deathbed.
Yeah.
What they have done, they are working to rule and they are hiding all the keys, preventing the doctors from doing what the Hippocratic Oath requires.
Yeah, I mean that is abominable. That is atrocious. Imagine, all right, you have your go slow or your work to rule or you have your beef, but if there are people who decide, well, listen, I am not going to partake, and you have the keys to the medicine chest, so to speak, and you keep it too. Yes, I agree with you implicitly.
And
They have blood on their hands. Go ahead.
I am aware that the doctors want to help because they're hypocritical to do that. And they cannot do it because the physical resources are not being provided to them. They are willing to go the extra mile.
Yes.
And if you go the extra mile, some of the tasks the nurses that are doing will become redundant. And apparently they're looking for that. Because what I'm hearing, a lot of the junior interns could be provided for to keep the institution going.
Yeah, and that is normal. We see that where industrial action would take place. For example, if it was one of the utilities, for example, whether it be WASA or the TNTech, those persons who might have been recruited, or even when the police take such action, even though they ought not to, you see that recruits and persons who are in training, yes, but can man the various stations until such time that things, are resolved. Yeah, but these people have not only, eat the cake and still want to have it because nobody else must be able. So they have held the whole country to ransom. That's what they have done, and the direct impact is on patient care and service. So people could die no matter what. But go ahead, yes.
And this reminds me of COVID, what the president of this thing, Nursing Association has done before and said, they cannot guarantee ICU space for non-vaccinated. This is the same thing. He has blood in his hands. And I don't know why the authority doesn't investigate all his utterances in SOEs.
And mind you, it is clear to me, my friend, going a little further, that he has found himself in a situation of a self-actualization, of a prophecy, of a negative, or should I say evil nature.
Right.
The UNC won the election in spite of his efforts.
Right. No,
That's so. And so now he's attempting, of course, to orchestrate a mechanism to show that decision of the population, he's attempting to impose on the population his warped, evil and diabolical agenda, because the population chose the UNC, Kamala Prasad Bisesa, and the coalition of interests. Go ahead.
And listen to this. That association is not recognized as the bargaining unit for those nurses.
You serious? I didn't know that. But he poses, but he camouflages well, if it's so.
Right.
I'm going to look at it, yes. Go ahead.
Look at that. He is not recognized. And listen to this. If he's not recognized, he can't bargain for them.
That's right. And therefore, industrial action, that is a misrepresentation, because you are not the bona fide bargaining agent for these nurses.
And that was brought to my attention on TV6 News today, because the Nursing Association was there and an industrial relations thing. And listen to this. For 13 years, they applied to get recognition, and they haven't gotten it under the PNM.
Okay.
Now they want to make an excuse and say this government hasn't don't have a board, so they can't get recognition. But the industrial relations say, why you all didn't get it for the last 13 years under the PNM?
Yeah, that's a fair counter. That's a fair counter. Yeah, as to why. Yeah.
And the CPO cannot meet with them because Tom, Dick, and Harry could come up with a little gang of people and say,
there's a process for recognition as a trade union. There's a process which, of course, is yet to be pursued. Go ahead. By anyone.
This is what this government has to do the right thing and take some hard action. You remember the
Well, I see that the head of the North Central Regional Health Authority, Chairman, Dr. Tim Gopi Singh, a stalwart and one that is well learnt and knowledgeable. He has been, of course, calling, including the chairman, the person who is purporting to be representing nurses, coward, of course, and the fake, I should say, representative, said that he took some kind of note to the police. Yes, saying that he was, I don't know if he was threatened or whatever it is, but that's words to that effect. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the couple of lines, Tim said he's backing up the wrong tree. I wonder if he was a Rottweiler.
Well, we'll see. But it's clear. It's clear that he is on an agenda, on a trajectory for self-actualization of a fantasy that was not materialized or a prophecy that was not materialized. So he wants to do it in the face of tremendous opposition and the will of the people. He is trying to reverse that. That is, to me, treason. Go ahead.
They should accept how many nurses didn't turn up for work during the carnival and who basically function on the wall during those times. You'll find out it's the doctor. The second thing is, the pool, I read an article today in the newspaper where Fuad Khan alluded to the pool as being nepotism. The people who choose from the pool apparently consistently choose the same same persons. That is why. That is why.
So it has been manipulated by a clique.
One person getting it all the time.
Yeah, a cabal.
Right. And usually when you have cabal is this, the O'Halloran scenario comes in at 10% cut for somebody.
Yes, obviously. So
and then
we have seen that. We saw that with the implementation of the points system, where you have to now go and do some kind of rehabilitatory work, and one institution get that job, and one could assume that, of course, there is some payment, some extra payment that are taking place here. Yeah.
You create legislation to help your boys with contracts.
That's right, exactly, yes.
Right? No. A little bit facetious. I see the other day, they hold about 40 immigrants somewhere in Princeton. And what they found out, they were illegal gambling. And the main game was cockfighting.
Okay.
You know who pastime was cockfighting?
Yeah, O'Halloran.
Indigo Martin. So Ghost is back on the island.
Yes, Ghost is back on the island. I agree.
Anytime PNM under pressure, they can't come back with email gate. They invoke the sprays of the past. Eric William legacy and O'Halloran.
I hear you.
I go on.
Okay, my friend.
Wanted to
Thanks very much. It was very, very enlightening and, of course, informative. Yes, and speculative as well. Yes, indeed. What, as I said, let me get back to, I want to do some reading tonight. But, of course, I laid the foundation earlier, or I began to lay the foundation earlier. But we have another call. Let's go to the line. Look as though we're going to get some calls tonight. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night to you, Uncle Lennox, and to all your listeners in all its country.
Yes, man.
East, west, north, and south. Go tell it on the mountain that Uncle Lennox has come. And we're seeing that the PNM narrative is falling back on Penny lap and Camille lap. And Mr. Diego Martin, sir, good night to you. And what I would like to just, if I get permission from Uncle Lennox to make 2 sentences on your contribution. Uncle Lennox.
Go right ahead, my friend. The floor is yours.
No, I will just want to tell Mr. Diego Martin that if you remember when Idiot Stewart started to walk with the trainees and them for uniform allowance, shoes allowance, and the stipend, and the close of the Tacarigua Training Institute. And they said they build it better and bigger. So it started from since then. And Idiot Stewart stay quiet. He get not only pip, but he get honey goat weed. He more get stiff. Yeah, he could not talk. He went on full teeth. So the next one I want to address tonight is my good stalwart. And he said, and he said, the one who say it looked like Bangladesh and Delhi, when Marvin Gonzalez, they talk about the state board appointment.
Yeah. The cabinet and state board appointments, yes.
Yeah. It was Delhi and Bangladesh, but it had too much Indian in other words, right?
Yes,
It
of
looked
course.
like India.
That has racial connotations, yes.
Right. So I want to let him know that the 10% outstanding from 2013 for daily paid workers in the corporation, right? I seen like it's Nigeria, the Congo, and Tasmania, because it hardly have anything from Delhi. But that is how my Prime Minister does deal with the country, across the board, equality.
Yes, yes.
Right? And tell him, I want to tell him through your media, if he listen, when he's too scared, that to take out the Balize juice from inside the crow and put some lime and red lavender and repent in Jesus' name. Right? And stop misleading the people he represents to follow the PLM to go back in bondage. And the next one, the one in TSTT, she said, it's more than 3 weeks now I check in. She has marked the bus. But Mark Bassan, Bassamak, only reached $500,000 in America. And the recipient dead, and Mark Bassan bust out and they give him a big walk. I don't know if he walked there with she, right? But stop misleading the workers in TSTT, because they're going to finish, send them home and give Amplia everything across the board to contract it out. So that is how my esteemed political leader, the Honorable Ms. Kamala Prasad Visesa, is treat with humans across the board at the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. Equality, and give them an opportunity to earn. And I want to tell Crystal, that young lady in the tutor, Crystal something Ash or what, to tell she, right, that all the wage, all the get all the money, promise make, promise kept, and stop towing the line at the PNM because of all the successor from since Anthony Garcia, it opened and he thought the light shining all the bright to see all the red like the Balize flowers and everything the Balize all the trying to push the narrative to make it look bad. But I want the union and them to come out and ask Penny and India what economic and what kind of money they leave in the treasury, what was the reserve, and what was the reserve for importation, how much cover we had when they leave the treasury. And I want to tell Stuart Young tonight, this is my boy Stuarty, that here, a chairman in NGC say, he as the energy minister, draw down at $2 billion, make it look like a loss, and never pay the dividends to the IPO holders and them. But again, good management, they're looking to start to pay back the dividend. And that's the economic power. And I want to tell the rest of naysayers who try to push the narrative, if all go back to the press conference with my Honorable Prime Minister, she'll say that we had to cut out the teeth and the overspending, and then we will get the money, because we don't know where to have money, but we will get it, and we will stabilize this country. But like everything else, people want property tax, and they're looking for local government reform. And you see what the PNM in San Fernando Corporation are doing? Making mischief. And it's what they're doing in Siparia. But I want the citizens to know that the PNM, last 10 years, they thief out every single thing, down to the cobweb. What was in the treasury? They thief it out. And they leave the cap in hand. And thank God we get a little something to try to keep the fire burning, to get the economy going, right? And we're looking to start a mega project or one or two little projects to get the wheels going again. And at the PNM, and people trying to make it look like it's frustrated. There's only a few. But as long live Uncle Lennox and the Corridor Transformation, the listeners and the contribution. Great is the United National Congress. And we will preach it and treat everybody across the board equal. Uncle Lennox, I suppose to say good night now?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
you have said, I mean, voluminous things tonight. So I have no difficulty. If you would have become exhausted, yeah, yeah. But well said. Of course, while she was speaking, of course, I recall. Only today, I think, it is reported in today's news that the chairman of NGC, the National Gas Company, a former senator, and the man, one of the persons who was a co-defendant with former Attorney General, talking about Anand Ram Logan, well, of course, the chairman of NGC is Ramdeen, said that the clearing or the maintenance of a particular pipe, I can't recall the size, but just that gesture of maintenance generated an additional amount of gas or placed a number of additional amount of gas into the grid or into the system for use, whether it be by those at Point Lisas or in other places where, of course, natural gas is required. Why I'm saying that? I'm saying that because he made the point that instead of engaging in mega projects and grandiose announcements and so on, that those simple things, if were focused by the last government, would have, of course, caused a better scenario today, inclusive, of course, the reduction in the depletion of the 12 billion that they met in 2015, left by the very Prime Minister today, but was headed by of course, she headed the UNC and the partnership at that time. Let's go to the line. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yeah, Dr. Lennox.
Hey, how are you going, man?
I see it hot in here tonight, boy.
Yeah,
Calls
boy.
after calls.
What after call? What after?
Yeah?
I can't get into my substantive topic as yet. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, sorry for interrupting you here, but
No,
I had to
that's
call
right.
you.
That's right. You are important.
had to
You're more
call you.
important, in fact. Yeah.
Yeah, what happened is I look at these RHA people who protesting, and I find that it's kind of strange, you know, because after 10 years, everybody was quiet, the mouth zip, and they can't walk to protest under the PNM and Rowley. They took 4%, they stood quiet. Then in the COVID, they were given a pan of biscuit, and they
I could never forget that
quiet.
humiliating event. But go ahead.
Yeah, and they stayed very quiet.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I try to, the steward, he have me puzzled. The man who leading the protest. Because, remember, he didn't want the Cuba Children's Hospital open. Right? He was against it because he didn't have enough nurses. Okay? But what he's alleging here now is that they're working for 2013 salary. So he now wake up from a coma. He now realize that they're working for a 2013 salary. But the funny
and he
part
took the
about
5%. That's all. He took the 5% as well when the last administration was there, along with one or two others to try to influence the outcome of the elections. But go ahead.
But the funny part of it all is the 2013 salary that he's talking about was Kamala Prasad Bisesla who gave them that salary then.
Yeah,
and what happened
2013, the PNM wasn't around in
Yeah.
2013.
No, Kamala had given them that salary.
That might be midterm, the Kamala
and I
Prasad
remember well.
led coalition, not coalition, but partnership. Yeah, go
The
ahead.
partnership, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that salary he's speaking about is what Kamala had given them during her period.
Yeah.
And what happened after? She was voted out and Rowley came. And for 10 years, they all remained silent. Right? But somehow, in my gut, the feeling in my gut is that PNM have a lot to do with backing them up to come out and do this.
Oh,
to
of
make
course.
this government look
The agenda
bad.
is clear. Let's get
Yes.
it clear. And that is why I broached this topic tonight. And when I get a chance to read it, you'll understand. Because they believe that the Kamala Prasad Bissessa of 2010 to 2015 is the same Kamala Prasad Bissessa current. Well, I want to show them that it is not so. Kamala Prasad Bissessa would have never said between 2010 and 2015 that Trinidad and Tobago is, of course, a criminalistic dump, for example. But go ahead. We'll explore more of
Yes.
that later. Yeah.
Yes, because, listen, now, you are saying that the 2013 salary, you all working on that, and you want to meet, right? You want to meet
Yeah.
us and that stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the first thing you should have done, instead of having people outside protesting, because it's people lives at stake you are playing with, you know. You know, in other countries,
Yeah, but you
they
know,
will be.
that statement in itself is a shifting of the goalposts, because he did ask for the resignation of Tim Gopi Singh. Now
Yeah,
we want to talk.
but
When you say Tim
but you know
Gopi
the funny,
Singh, yeah,
but you know the funny part is, these pool nurses is the PNM that, you know, that is the PNM more, they brought in that to save a lot of money from, because you remember, a lot of nurses were leaving this country and going away, right? A lot of nurses, because they were not getting correct salary because they were underpaid.
right.
Okay? So this started with the PNM. Right? But people have been misled to believe that what is going on now is the UNC causing that. Right? And that is not so. And I think
Yeah.
I
And
think
my
the Prime Minister-
information is that that pool, which in effect, I was speaking to a nurse the other day, and she told me that is really overtime. That they call it pool, and
Yeah.
but when the story began to unfold, we realized that it was pitched at a price or at a amount that was not the intention. That is the $70 an hour. It was supposed to be less than that. So here it is since it was being operated, they benefited from that increase, that over increase, if you want to call it that. And now that it is to be adjusted, you're vexing over that and risking, of course, patient care and holding the entire population under bondage or hostage. I think that is very, very barbaric and unsavory. But go ahead.
And then now I drew the parallel when Penny came out and had her piece to say. She's asking the Prime Minister to fix the healthcare system. Can you believe this? She is now asking the Prime Minister to fix the healthcare system. Where was she for the last 10 years?
but why would I not believe it when they're expecting, of course, the Prime Minister to fix crime and criminality, when them had record after record breaking incidents of murder. Murder, and it has been reduced by 40% in the first partial term, I should say, because 2025, the UNC Coalition of Interest didn't have the entire period. They came into office after the 28th of April last year. So it means therefore the PNM had part of the responsibility for the amount of murders that was recorded in that particular year. But they're telling you now that, listen, your crime plan and your crime program is not working, because here it is, we have 3 murders there, 1 here, there, and so on, are trying to sensationalize a situation that clearly the statistics is at variance with. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I know that I have so much more to say, but I'll call you another time, because I know you won't get a chance to do your
thing.
your
No,
explanation.
call,
Yeah,
man,
right? So,
I could always do that tomorrow Tomorrow is what? Tomorrow is Thursday, right? So at least it's not
Tomorrow
Friday.
Thursday, so I'll give you a shout again because
All right,
there's
lovely.
much more to say. Yeah, okay.
No
You
problem.
take
Yes,
care.
yes. You take
Nice.
care as well, my friend. Yes, indeed. You know, in these conversations, I consider conversation, even though, of course, you would allow the speaker to vent and to, of course, express his issues and concerns. So, it's a kind of quasi or semi monologue, but it's really a conversation because from time to time I will intervene with certain issues that would reinforce and to generate a parallel so that you get more, in other words, from the intervention. So that is why it's important that you call in and you express yourself. Of course, I don't pay attention to the bloggers because I believe that is more of a distraction. When we started off, at the end of the program, I will say I will acknowledge people who were there. I suppose that has been evolved, of course, to what Andy does on a morning on the ground report where he calls out everybody and so on. But I used to do it at the end of the program. So, different strokes for different folks, so to speak. But let me, as I said, conclude the introduction to the statement that I will read emanating from the Facebook page of the Honorable Prime Minister Kamala Prasad Bisesa in response to the opposition insofar as their criticism and, as I said, on a private member's bill was laid in relation to by the former Education Minister Gaspar Dolly about the effectiveness of the police security in school, and that gave rise to a number of issues, including, of course, the reversing of the policy that will now be part and parcel of the outcome of the C exam, which is you state who did well and you make those persons who ended up at the top of the pile, so to speak, proud, and I feel that they did something that was significant. You see, I am saying so from the perspective that you cannot promote and institutionalize mediocrity as the PNM has done and believe that Trinidad and Tobago can go forward. Because it means, therefore, as we saw sometime, and that was revealed to us, that was exposed in court documents, where there was, of course, automatic, because you're in the service and because you did some years, you just get a point or a mark to the optimum. Everybody get the same amount because they were in the service at the same time. And then, of course, what separates them is the written exam that they would take in order to advance in the system. The point I am making here is that you need competition. Competition is what is going to advance the cause. You have that in business. You have that within professions. You have that within, of course, even vocational skills areas as well. You want to be the top. You want to be a mechanic. You want to be the best. You want to be a joiner. You want to be the best. A tailor, a barber. You want to be the best, yes. A pilot, a doctor, a lawyer. You want to be the best. And competition brings that out. We have seen that, of course, in the cultural arena, whether it be calypso, whether it be steel band. Why it is that people from managerial position and the expectation of the repercussions, or should I say the benefits of occupying an awesome responsibility institution, that you want mediocres to be there? People who brighter than them working under them? And while that is, I would consider to be a rarity and something not common, but the fact of the matter is in terms of people who brighter than you ended up working under you, that might be a rarity. That's the point I'm making. But the fact is that generally competition brings the best to the top. Let me go, of course, having, of course, set the foundation. I want to, I'm reading it because it's a different Kamala Prasad Bisasa. The PNM getting tied up like a market crab. And they will be led like lamb to the slaughter because it's a different, metamorphosized Kamala Prasad Bisasa. And while, of course, at the commencement of her new term as Prime Minister, we saw, of course, a distinct diversion of what we knew her to be between 2010 and 2015. Very docile, very, I should say, accommodating, very compromising, very sensitive, and maybe tolerant to a certain degree, because we have seen the potential in her when she dismissed her Attorney General, dismissed several ministers during her term. So we knew that that potential was there, but it was never exhibited and has come to the forefront as it has from the early stages of the administration, right out of the box. Let's get a read of her Facebook response to Gasbidoli, and of course all of the commentary, including of course the former Prime Minister, when of course he had the opportunity to say that he called a press conference to talk about issues relating to, and called of course the lady Ajamet. Yes, they used the opportunity to call her Lady Ajamet, only to get what I consider to be a soundbite or a clip that is so poignant and so controversial that it became, of course, the news for a very long time. And we only did that deliberately. Only a fellow like me will know that. That was to do exactly that, to catch the headlines, etc. But let's go to Kamala Prasad Bisasa's, your current Prime Minister's, Facebook post. She said, "My UNC government," I'm quoting here, "my UNC government stands firmly in defense of students and the teachers who simply want to attend school to learn and teach in a safe and supportive environment." Again, remember, Gasbidoli moved a motion in the Parliament, former minister in the PNM, saying that there should be, in other words, putting police in school is not a good thing, and of course followed up by the political leader. But we'll get to what the political leader of the PNM responded to this post, or response to this post. She added, and I quote, "The PNM's neglect and hatred of our nation's children reach a sickening level today, Friday." That is when, of course, the matter, the private motion was being debated, of course, as I said, piloted by former Minister of Education, Gasbidoli. So Kamala Prasad Bisasa, the Prime Minister, is commenting. "The PNM's neglect and hatred of our nation's children reached a sickening level today, Friday, when they wasted hours of parliamentary time to argue for the removal of police protections for our children from the nation's schools." So she has come out of the Parliament, because this is a Facebook page. So in the Parliament, I'm sure she would have made her contribution if she was there, but probably felt if she wasn't there that it didn't worth her time to listen to the hogwash and the self-righteous indignations that the PNM so glibly and so bold-facedly and so ostentatiously projected to the population as if they are holier than thou, as if they are not Satan personified. And it continues. According to Prasad Bisesa, this article says, the PNM has no ambition to see our citizens excel and thrive. They only advocate for menial make-work ghost programs to buy votes at election time while the eater food fake elite, local drug mafia, and pedophile lodge members loot the country. I mean, those are profound statements. And if you were a bystander and observing Kamala Prasad Bisesa's demeanor and her choice of words, you will not believe that that came from her. It means, therefore, she has recognized the PNM for who they are, and these people don't know anything about cordiality and contrite. They know about belligerence. And when you corner them, like when I would say on a regular basis, Rowley is a pedophile and a rapist, they find all kinds of other things to say to try to obfuscate or try to avoid the direct response to such a damning accusation of the character of their leader and the Prime Minister at the time. So, the Honorable current Prime Minister, Kamala Prasad Bisesa, has learned her lesson. And therefore, she has responded in like manner. They can't take that. They can't take a Kamala Prasad Bisesa that is that belligerent, that is that responsive in kind to the nonsense and the diatribe and the what I consider to be the vitriolic false statements that they continue to concoct and then, like bile, deliver bitter to the population through the media that is so inclined to absorb. That's not waste time. Let me read that again. The PNM, according to the Honorable Prime Minister in her Facebook page, responding, of course, to that motion, private motion in the Parliament by former Education Minister Gusby Dolly, says, the PNM has no ambition to see our citizens excel and thrive. They only advocate for menial make-work ghost programs to buy votes at election time while the eater food fake elite, local drug mafia, and pedophile lodge members loot the country. She continues, their actions today followed a pattern where the defense of wrongdoing and the criminal behavior seems to take precedent over the protection of law-abiding citizens. And of course, anybody reading that will know that she was referring, of course, to the collapse or the failure of what? Of the Zoso bill that was being debated. And I want to say categorically, shame on the independent senators, because while the PNM would have had, as they did in the lower house, and while they could not have override there because of their minuscule minority, only 13, as opposed to what, 28 in the lower house, the motion or the measure was passed. Is when, of course, it reached the upper house, which also is required to endorse for it to become law. We saw where the 9 independent supported the 6 opposition in the upper house. 9 and 6, of course, 15 of them, and caused the bill to fail. And as I have said, and they have the temerity, the gall, as I heard Stuart Young recently, yeah, what he was saying. Why don't you implement the social intervention part of the ZOSO bill? Why don't you? Today, after, of course, not voting for it, he turned and said, no, why don't you? Because as I've said, that if they had read that part of the bill, then whether you're independent, whether you are opposition, and in particular where in opposition constituencies in general, the problem of crime and criminality, blue collar in nature, is rampant, is prolific, and has mushroomed without bridle, out of control. And then you did that because of political, not just expediency, because you believe that you will gain some political traction. Well, your currency has no value. If you have to compare the PNM's political value, prowess, or power, then it could be easily described as having been subjected to what? Hyperinflation. Hyperinflation, where like in Venezuela, to buy a bread, you had to carry a barrel of money. To buy a bread, you had to carry a barrel. That is how irrelevant, how loose, or how unacceptable and detrimental this gang of opportunistic political parasite who is prepared to live a nostalgic life whilst in opposition, claiming and believing that somehow they will get into government to do us harm. To do us harm, as they did for 10 long, treacherous years. It was abominable. It was dangerous. It was an exhibition of brinksmanship. Yeah. But, thank God there's a God. And we have, of course, emerged out of that. I wouldn't even, the word travail is too simple of a word. The word quagmire is similarly, but diabolical certainly is appropriate. Diabolical period, devilish period. Devilish period. Yes, indeed. So here we have Kamala Prasad Bisesa. We are at 27 minutes past 9, so we have 3 more minutes. So let me see if I can get over that and still get a piece of the opposition leader response to this, because she couldn't take it, because that is uncharacteristic. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, they believe that somehow that is the docile, compromising prime minister that they once knew. And now they have to face, of course, the level of bellicose language, the level of belligerence, the level of response in kind. They can't take it, so they usually, these days, put their tails between their legs and go back and think again. That is what happening. That is what is happening on a regular basis among and within the PNM ranks in this country today. So let's continue. Law-abiding, yes, indeed. She continues talking about the Honorable Prime Minister Kamala Prasad Bisesa. She says, they clearly are more comfortable with drug pushers and gangs, along with some violent parents and students terrorizing our children and our teachers on a daily basis. The PNM remains silent when innocent students are bullied, beaten, emotionally traumatized, and sexually assaulted in our schools. That is Kamala Prasad Bisesa talking. And I say kudos and continue, because you need to carry the message. You need to carry, of course, the fight. I see that I have a pause there in the video. Let me see if I can get that back. Yeah, let's see if I can get that back. All right, good. I think we got it back. Sorry about that. But you know, the words are so powerful that it appears that even the technology stands still when Kamala Prasad Bisesa's utterances are being, of course, read out to the listenership far, near, and in between. So let me start over that part. They clearly are more comfortable with drug pushers and gangs, along with some violent parents and students terrorizing our children and our teachers on a daily basis. The PNM remains silent when innocent students are bullied, beaten, emotionally traumatized, and sexually assaulted in our schools. Yet, defend violent students from being expelled, objected to laptops and free textbooks, and did nothing over the last 10 years to protect our schools from criminals. Very profound words, very precise words, very selected words, very pertinent words, and appropriately or an appropriate response to the nonsense and the shenanigans that would have been part and parcel or incorporated in the so-called private motion led by the former minister in the PNM, Gasby Dolly, on her sudden concern for young people and the fact that police must not be sent to schools in order to, of course, arrest this bourgeoning, social, economic, violent, aggressive behavior that young people are engaged in. Mind you, I want to say before I go on to Penny, that it was Rowley as Prime Minister who talked about parents sending their children to school, their evil children to school. He said that. He also said that the girls were like hyenas in an African jungle or in the African jungle, whichever, whether you want to use a definite article or indefinite, whether it's the or and, but the fact is that Here it is, or A. That's what he said. So quite a long time ago, the PNM in government acknowledged that there was a crisis of violence and therefore disturbing the quiet operation of the institutions that house our children for educational purposes. Let us not waste time. Let us understand where we are. And so I say to the courageous current Prime Minister, Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa, well said. And a descriptive narrative, perfect, not just in execution, but in terms of description of the PNM. But listen to Beckles. Let me just give you a paragraph or two because it is of inconsequence having regard to the significance of what was said by the Prime Minister. But listen to what she said. She's saying, she is using, of course, what was called Twitter, is now X. Beckles said, we cannot police our nation's youth into righteousness. That is platitude. That is ingratiation. That is tomfoolery talk. You see, I remembered when the former parliamentary representative for Laventille West, the late Maurice Marshall, I invited him, and I'll tell you about Hines as well, because both of them represented that particular constituency. I invited him to a graduation, young people looking to make their mark on their own lives, and probably even if they weren't conscious, but to uplift their community, Laventille, East Port of Spain, Chumakak, Beetham, John, Picton, yes, of course, Sealots, etc., East Port of Spain. So we had it, of course, at the Angostura, or what we call today the Angostura Community Center. And as a guest, we invited, of course, Maurice Marshall. But he was so obsessed with attempting to get back at Morgan Job, who was alive at the time, the late Morgan Job. Because Morgan Job at one time said that the children or the youths or the people of Laventille are swines. So he felt that he must use that occasion, Maurice Marshall, used that occasion to bellow, because the media was there to bellow. And he said, how could Morgan Job call the people of Laventille swines? You know what I say? He said, how could Morgan Job call the people of Laventille swines? I am equating that statement with what Penelope Beckles just said when she said, we cannot police our nation's youth into righteousness. A sudden love. So Maurice Marshall, used the occasion to say how we could call the people of Laventille swines. And when he sat down, because he was sitting next to me, I had to, of course, to whisper in his ears. And I told him in no uncertain terms, don't ever do that again. So he was wondering what I meant by that. I said, listen, do not come in any function that I invite you to, of course, execute your political agenda. And while, of course, on this occasion, yes, I am upset. What I am more upset about is that here it is. You had a golden opportunity to say to Morgan Job, if you are so damn upset, Listen, eat your heart out, because over 200 young people are graduated today, and they are from Laventille, Beetham, Sealots, Chumakak, John, yes, Picton, Sealots, with their mechanic certificate, their auto mechanic and welding and refurbishing certificate, their joinery certificate, their tailoring certificate, their cosmetology certificate. That is what I expected. So I told him in uncertain terms, by all means, use your agenda. But I think a better approach would have been to what? To tell Morgan Job and the world, and to use a biblical expression or a teaching from Nazareth. Here comes good people. Eat your heart out. Eat your heart out, Morgan Job. And all those who try to decry and say that the people from Laventille, East Port of Spain, Mova, etc. are not good. That is what I expected as one who would have been given a mandate by the people to represent them. And here it is, you have a golden opportunity to, of course, roll back and to, of course, disabuse the abuse that was taking place, and is taking place even to today about these communities. Because let's face it, Zoso would have been implemented here, so we know that the issue still exists. So let's not waste time. But when these kinds of leaders, as you have seen recently, I had to call in, use my influence, when the community on Nelson Street, yes, of all streets, Nelson Street, they said, listen, we have a sewer surfacing, running in the road and in the courtyard of the housing, the HGC housing development high-rise asset. We have a problem. Look at Mr. Smith. And immediately I got on the phone call, of course, the minister in the Ministry of Housing, in this case, of course, Philip Alexander. And he immediately the next day came to see. And about 2 days after, technical people were around. And 2 days after that, it was, of course, Wasa trucks pulling up and employees there, and, of course, addressing the problem. Today I passed there, and I'm seeing that work has progressed. The sewer is no longer potentially unreal, fomenting to effect a what? A public health disaster right in town. When flies go on that, and children play, when people walk in close proximity and get the sole of their shoe dirty and cried inside the house, they never could tell what health danger that is lurking as a consequence of that exposed, filthy, unhygienic circumstance. It has been so for over 10 years. I'm making the point that not too far from there, the next street, Piccadilly Street, Scotland office is situated opposite what we call the Greens, along the East Dry River itself. Yeah, 10 years. You're telling me 10 years. And of course, I didn't have to ask them whether or not they reported it to him. My common sense will tell me that, because nobody in perpetuity or temporarily will want to live where when you open your window, you're smelling and seeing exposed cesspit Yes, suspect. So I want to make the point that when Beckles talk that hogwash about we cannot police our nation's youth into righteousness, hogwash, platitude, because your government, when they were there, superintended over 500 and 600 murders a year. 500 and 600 murders a year. Record breaking after record breaking. It has been so much record breaking that I've lost check. I've lost count. But let me just give you just one more, about two more sentences from the first paragraph of that response by Penry Beckles. Two, of course, the reality that the Prime Minister would have outlined in that fake, false, and ill-fated Private Members' Day law that they tried to, of course, debate in the Parliament and brought to the Parliament. School violence is complex, according to her. Police in schools is a last resort and frankly has not worked. So it's a last resort. So she's acknowledged it's a last resort but has not worked. So is it that it is a last resort? But if it's a last resort, then well done, Kamala Persad-Bissessar. How could you say that that is not a viable option when you say it's a last resort? And quite frankly, it has not worked. So trying, of course, to play smart with foolishness. You cannot say that is a last resort. And at the same time, of course, to talk about your skepticism about whether it will work or not. It's a last resort. Just as a SOE. Last resort. So you suspend certain rights and you get, of course, to what the law enforcement via intelligence know to be, of course, the humbug, the pernicious elements in the society. Job loss caused by this government has worsened the problem without any solutions. Kamala Persad-Bissessar is removed from the realities facing our nation. Removed from the realities facing the nation. So why they have police in the school? Why they have a state of emergency? And why they close down those jobs? I want to say to you, ma'am, leader of the opposition and Penry Beckles, it's you who are at the present time suffering from an acute deficiency of reality. An acute deficiency of reality. That is what you are suffering from. People, of course, we have come to the end of tonight's program. It is now 9:45 already. I have, of course, the ground reporter to look after in terms of preparation. So, of course, I'll see you on the ground report from 6 to 9 on our new location, of course. It is that of what? Of Talk City 91.1. Yes. And those businessmen, if you don't want, I would prefer that you advertise here. But if you feel that you want to spread it, then advertise here and advertise on the ground report on Talk City 91.1, where our team here, a sub-team here, and a team at TTT will, of course, take care of your application for advertising, because we are reaching more and more and more. Yes, during the course of the day, the corridor transformation is connected to the ground report. So it means, therefore, you have TV, you have Talk City, you have, well, not directly TTT, but you also have, of course, Real Media on the social media platform, Real Media TT. You have, of course, the corridor transformation and many others. So you have a wide reach for whatever product or service that you would want to exposed to the population so you could get a greater customer base and therefore expand your business, because that is what advertising is all about. I want to tell you, it will always be to suit your pocket. All right? So have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. And see you, of course, tomorrow night, which is the penultimate night, the final night for the corridor transformation. Yes, indeed. Bye-bye.